I couldn't watch your kid, my mom refused. You're on your own now, I texted while canceling every payment. On Christmas Day, my dad came. I'm 31. I knew things were bad the moment I saw her expression. My mother, Margaret, was sitting on the couch with Lisa's kids, looking healthier than I'd seen her in months. For a woman who was supposedly too frail to watch my daughter Mia for a single night, she seemed to be doing just fine with my sister's 3 children. My stomach dropped. Everything froze. The laughter died when they spotted me in the doorway. My mother's face paled for a split second before she recovered, pasting on that smile I'd seen 1,000 times before. "Jake, what a surprise. I wasn't expecting you," she chirped, bouncing my nephew on her knee. I couldn't speak. The envelope of cash in my hand, the extra money for utilities I'd brought over, suddenly felt like a lead weight. My eyes darted between my mother, Lisa's kids, and my dad, who slumped deeper into his recliner, avoiding my gaze. "You said you couldn't watch Mia because of your health," I finally managed, my voice tight. The room went silent. My mother hesitated, but Lisa, always ready with an excuse, jumped to her defense. Too much on her plate, she said, wouldn't want her to overdo it. My blood pressure spiked. A familiar pressure built behind my eyes. I repeated her words back to her, keeping my voice low. She was literally babysitting right now. My mother sighed, rubbing her temple like I was causing her stress. The irony wasn't lost on me. She explained that it was different, that Lisa needed her help. Raising kids alone isn't easy. The floor disappeared beneath me. 32 years of being second best crystallized in that single moment. I asked her point-blank if Lisa, who had never paid a single bill in her life, who Mom had bent over backward for since we were kids, needed her more than I did. Silence crashed down around us. My father shifted uncomfortably. Lisa rolled her eyes. And my mother, she just shook her head as if I was being ridiculous. Not like that, she insisted, but it was exactly like that. My jaw clenched tight enough to crack teeth. Everything suddenly made sense. My mother's supposed illness wasn't about health, it was about control. She didn't want to risk me cutting off the money flow. So she lied. She manipulated me. She let me believe she was too weak to help, all while cashing my checks without guilt. And Lisa knew. She had always known. Something inside me snapped. Years of frustration, resentment, and disappointment boiled over. I told them I finally understood. I was never part of this family, not really. Just the backup plan, the safety net. The idiot who kept the lights on while they all lived their lives. My mother gasped dramatically. I cut her off before she could speak. This wasn't fair. No, what wasn't fair was me paying their bills for years while they treated me like an afterthought. Believing they actually needed my help when the truth was, they just didn't want to do anything for me. My mother was a liar. Lisa leaned forward with that smirk I'd grown to hate. She called me dramatic, claimed Mom had to tiptoe around me because I was uptight. I turned to her, my expression carved from stone. I called her pathetic. She let Mom coddle her like she was still 15, and she ate it up because it was easier than taking responsibility for her own life. They deserved each other. Without another word, I turned and walked out. My mother called after me. Lisa yelled something snarky. My father remained silent. As always, I didn't stop. I couldn't. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. My throat burned. The drive home passed in a blur of streetlights and traffic signals. By the time I pulled into my driveway, I knew what I had to do. Erin was waiting for me in the kitchen, Mia already asleep upstairs. One look at my face was all it took. She asked me what happened, her voice soft with concern. I told her everything. The babysitting, the lies, the final confirmation of what we'd both suspected for years. She didn't seem surprised. Maybe part of her had always known too. She asked me what I planned to do next. I told her I was done, just done. That night I slept better than I had in years. The next morning I canceled every payment. The rent, the utilities, the car insurance, the grocery deliveries, everything. Then I sent one final text. "You're on your own now, good luck," and I blocked their numbers. What followed was pure chaos. First came the missed calls, dozens of them lighting up my phone like a Christmas tree before I blocked their numbers. Then the emails, urgent, desperate, guilt-laden. When those went unanswered, they started calling Erin. She declined each call with a satisfaction that made me fall in love with her all over again. Finally, Margaret took it public. A long, tearful Facebook post about how her ungrateful son abandoned his poor, sick mother in her time of need. She described in vivid detail how she'd sacrificed everything for me, only to be repaid with cruelty. I didn't take the bait. Instead, I wrote my own post without dramatics, just cold, hard truth. I'd been paying their bills for years. My mother lied about being sick to avoid babysitting my daughter. She refused to watch my child for one night but was perfectly fine watching my sister's kids. I was done being used. The reaction was immediate and brutal. Family members I hadn't spoken to in years reached out in support. Friends shared their own stories of toxic family dynamics. Even some of my parents' neighbors chimed in, mentioning how they'd seen my mother gardening or shopping on days she'd claimed to be bedridden. Lisa got the worst of it. Her carefully crafted image as the struggling single mom crumbled under the weight of questions about her spending habits and constant vacations. Then came the final act, a knock at my door 3 days later. Through the peephole, I saw them. Margaret and Frank standing on my porch looking desperate. My father's face was haggard. My mother's eyes were red-rimmed, though I wondered if the tears were genuine or just another performance. I hesitated, my hand on the doorknob. Part of me wanted to ignore them, to let them stand there until they gave up and left. But another part, the part that still hadn't completely let go, wanted to hear what they had to say. I opened the door but remained in the doorway, blocking their entrance. My mother began immediately. Her voice broke as she pleaded for us to talk, reminding me they were my parents. I told them to talk, not moving from my position. My father cleared his throat. "Son, your mother is devastated. We both are. We never meant to hurt you." "You didn't mean for me to find out," I corrected him. "There's a difference." My mother reached for my arm, but I stepped back. "Sweetheart, I know you're upset, but cutting us off like this? It's cruel. We can't make our rent this month. The electric company is threatening to shut off our power. Is that what you want? Your parents living in the dark?" The guilt trip was so predictable, so transparent that I almost laughed. "You have options," I said calmly. "Dad can get a job, you can downsize to a smaller place. Lisa can finally start contributing, or you can keep playing these games and see where that gets you." My mother's expression hardened. "After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us, by throwing us out on the street. What exactly have you done for me, Mom? Name one thing from the past decade that wasn't about what I could do for you." Silence. My father looked away. My mother's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. That was what I thought. I told them. They had made their choice. Now they could live with it. I shut the door. For the first time in my life, I was truly free. No more guilt. No more manipulation. No more chasing love that was never really there. And it felt damn good. The next few weeks were surprisingly peaceful. Aaron and I took Mia to the beach for a long weekend. We started looking at houses in a different school district, something we'd talked about for years but never pursued. I got promoted at work, partly because I could finally focus without constant family emergencies distracting me. But of course, life is never that simple. The gossip reached me through well-meaning coworkers and distant relatives. My parents were spreading rumors that I'd had some kind of mental breakdown. Lisa was telling anyone who would listen that I'd always been unstable and money-obsessed. My aunt called me one evening. She skipped the pleasantries, telling me immediately that they were saying I'd lost it. Margaret was telling everyone I was having some kind of midlife crisis. I sighed, leaning back in my office chair. I asked her if she was surprised. Not even a little, she admitted. She knew my mother. She couldn't stand losing control. My aunt had always seen through my mother's manipulations. It was why they barely spoke anymore. I asked her how bad it was. Bad enough, she told me. They were apparently being evicted next month. Frank tried to get his old job back at the hardware store, but they weren't hearing. Lisa had been asking everyone for loans, but people were starting to connect the dots. A twinge of something, not quite guilt but close, passed through me. I told her it wasn't my problem anymore, but my voice lacked conviction. My aunt was quiet for a moment. She agreed it wasn't and acknowledged I'd done more than enough. She just thought I should know what was being said. After we hung up, I sat in silence, watching the sunset through my office window. Was I a bad son? A cruel person? The doubts crept in like shadows. Erin found me there an hour later, still staring into the distance. She asked if I was okay, perching on the edge of my desk. I admitted I didn't know. Part of me felt free, but another part felt guilty. She took my hand, her expression serious. She reminded me that I'd supported them for years. I'd given them more chances than they deserved. All they had to do was be honest with me, treat me with the same respect they gave Lisa. They couldn't even do that. She was right. I knew she was right. I confessed my worry about what would happen when they really needed help, when they were elderly and genuinely couldn't take care of themselves. Erin squeezed my hand. That was a bridge to cross when we got there, she told me. But supporting them didn't have to mean being manipulated by them. There was a difference between helping parents and being their personal ATM. I nodded, pulling her into my lap. I asked her when she got so wise. She claimed she'd always been wise. I was just finally listening. 2 months passed. Mia learned to count to 20, a development that brought me more joy than any promotion ever could. We put an offer on a house in a quiet neighborhood with good schools. Life moved forward. Then came the Christmas card. It arrived on a Tuesday, nestled between bills and grocery store flyers. No return address, but I recognized my mother's handwriting immediately. Inside was a generic holiday card with a family photo. My parents and Lisa with her kids, everyone smiling as if nothing had changed. On the back, a single line in my mother's looping script. "We miss you," no apology, no acknowledgement of what had happened, just 3 words that were supposed to make everything better. I tossed it in the trash without a second thought. That evening, as Erin and I decorated our Christmas tree, the doorbell rang. I froze, tinsel in hand. Erin offered to get it, squeezing my shoulder as she passed. I heard murmured voices, then Erin returned with an expression I couldn't quite read. "It was your dad," she told me quietly, "just him." My father stood in the entryway, hands in his pockets, looking smaller than I remembered. His hair had gone completely gray since I'd last seen him. Deep lines etched his face. We exchanged terse greetings. I asked him what he was doing here. He glanced at Erin, then back to me. He asked if we could talk just for a few minutes. Erin gave me a look that said it was my call. I nodded, and she took Mia upstairs for her bath, leaving us alone. I gestured toward the living room, and we sat on opposite ends of the couch, the partially decorated Christmas tree blinking between us. "Your mother doesn't know I'm here," he began, staring at his hands. "She'd be furious if she found out. That got my attention. So why are you?" He took a deep breath. "Because I owe you an apology, a real one, not whatever manipulative nonsense your mother's been trying." I didn't respond. I'd heard too many hollow apologies over the years. He continued, his voice rough. He had failed me not just recently, but my whole life. He stood by while my mother favored Lisa. He watched her take advantage of my generosity without saying a word. He let it happen. The raw honesty in his voice caught me off guard. I asked him why he never stepped in. He rubbed his face, suddenly looking every bit his 68 years. He confessed he was a coward. It was easier to let her have her way than to fight about it. Easier to stay quiet than stand up for what was right. He didn't expect forgiveness. He wouldn't in my shoes. But he needed me to know that I was right to walk away. And he was proud of me for having the courage he never did. Something tight in my chest loosened slightly. I asked him what would happen now. They were moving in with Lisa, he told me with a grimace. My mother's idea, not his. The irony was, Lisa wasn't happy about it either. Turns out she didn't actually want to take care of them. Who'd have thought? Despite everything, I felt a small smile tug at my lips. Shocking, I deadpanned. For the first time in months, my father smiled too, a sad, tired smile, but genuine. He said he should go. My mother would be wondering where he was. I walked him to the door, uncertain what to say. He paused on the threshold, turning back. "Merry Christmas, son. That's a beautiful little girl you've got. You're a better father than I ever was." Before I could respond, he was gone, trudging through the light snow back to his car. I closed the door, leaning against it, oddly shaken. I hadn't expected him to acknowledge his failures, let alone apologize for them. It didn't erase the past, but it was something. Erin found me still standing there minutes later. She asked if I was okay. "Yeah," I said, surprising myself by meaning it. "I think I am." That night, as we finished decorating the tree, I thought about family, not the one I was born into, but the one I'd chosen. Erin, who loved me without conditions. Mia, who looked at me like I hung the moon. Even my friends and coworkers who'd stood by me through everything. They were my real family, not perfect, but real. We moved into our new house, a modest 4-bedroom with a backyard big enough for a swing set. Mia turned 3, celebrating with a dinosaur-themed party that left our kitchen covered in green frosting for days. I heard from my father occasionally, brief, awkward phone calls that neither of us quite knew how to navigate. My mother still refused to apologize, telling anyone who would listen that I was the one who needed to make amends. Lisa had apparently kicked them out after 2 months, unable to handle their constant demands. They were now renting a small apartment on a fixed income. Part of me felt vindicated. They were finally facing the consequences of their actions. But another part felt sad, not for them exactly, but for what could have been. For the relationships we might have had if things had been different. One sunny Saturday, as I pushed Mia on her new swing set, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "It's Lisa. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen, unsure how to respond. My sister and I hadn't spoken since that day at our parents' house. What could she possibly have to say now? Curiosity won out. "When and where?" I replied. We met at a coffee shop the following Monday during my lunch break. Lisa was already there when I arrived, looking different than I remembered. Less polished, more real. She thanked me for coming. I asked her directly what she wanted. She wrapped her hands around her coffee mug, avoiding my eyes. She owed me an apology, she finally admitted. She'd been awful to me. I raised an eyebrow, waiting. She explained how she thought it would be fine when our parents moved in with her. She figured they'd help with the kids, maybe pitch in with bills, but they just expected everything. Mom complained about her cooking, her parenting, her housekeeping. Dad sat around watching TV all day. "Sounds familiar," I remarked dryly. She nodded, looking chagrined. For the first time, she understood what I'd been dealing with. It was exhausting. After 2 months, she couldn't take it anymore. I noted that she'd kicked them out. She had to, she insisted. They were driving her crazy. I leaned back, studying my sister's face. There was something different in her expression, a humility I'd never seen before. I asked her why she was telling me this. She sighed, meeting my eyes properly. She admitted I was right about everything. Mom did favor her. She did take advantage. She let me carry the burden alone because it was easier than admitting how messed up everything was. And she was sorry, truly. I wasn't sure what I'd expected from this meeting, but it wasn't this. Lisa had never apologized to me, not once in 32 years. I told her I appreciated that, but one apology didn't erase decades of behavior. She quickly agreed. She wasn't asking for forgiveness. She just needed me to know that she saw it now, what they did to me, what she did. She was trying to be better for her kids. Something in her words struck a chord. For my kids. Despite everything, Lisa was a mother trying to break the cycle. I asked if she was still in touch with them. Sometimes, she said. Mom was still mom, she'd never change, but Lisa was setting boundaries now. No more endless babysitting, no more loans, no more guilt trips. I nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. I asked about her kids, surprising myself with the question. Lisa smiled, some of her tension visibly easing. They were good, she told me, busy. Jack had started kindergarten. Emma was obsessed with soccer. They sometimes asked about their cousin, Mia. An awkward silence fell between us. 32 years of complicated history couldn't be resolved in a single coffee meeting. I finally told her that I couldn't promise we'd ever be close. There was too much water under that bridge, but maybe we could start over, as adults, without all the baggage. Lisa nodded, eyes suspiciously bright. She'd like that, she said softly. We talked for another 20 minutes, careful, neutral topics. Her job, my new house, the weather. It wasn't much, but it was a beginning. As we were leaving, she turned to me. She thanked me again for meeting her, and for standing up to them. If I hadn't, she wasn't sure she ever would have seen the truth. I nodded, not quite ready to say, "You're welcome," but acknowledging her words. Walking back to my office, I felt lighter somehow. Not because everything was fixed, it wasn't, and might never be, but because I'd finally broken free of the patterns that had defined my life for so long. I wasn't the family ATM anymore. I wasn't the forgotten son, the reliable one who never got the recognition he deserved. I was just Jake, husband, father, and man, finally living on his own terms. That night, as I tucked Mia into bed, she looked up at me with her mother's eyes. "Daddy," she said sleepily, "are you happy?" I kissed her forehead, breathing in the sweet scent of her shampoo. "Yes, sweetheart," I said. "I'm very happy," and for the first time in as long as I could remember, it was completely true.